You know that feeling, right? You're staring down a decision that's so big, so complicated, with so many different moving parts that there's just no obviously correct answer. I mean, we're talking choosing a career, launching a new product, even making national policy. It can be totally paralyzing.
Seriously, think about it. How do you really pick a path when, say, option A is way cheaper but also riskier, and option B is super safe but kind of boring and not very innovative? You just get stuck going in circles trying to weigh all these different things that feel like you're comparing apples to oranges.
And that's the real heart of the problem, isn't it? It's trying to put a number on something that doesn't really have one. I mean, how do you logically balance a 5% budget cut against something as important as employee well-being? For a long time, this challenge just seemed like more of an art than a science. That is, until one man decided to actually build a framework for it.
So, who on earth could build a logical system for these messy, deeply human problems? Well, let's meet the architect of the decision, the man who spent his life bringing structure to genius. This is Thomas L. Saaty. He was born in Iraq and became this incredibly distinguished American mathematician. But he wasn't the kind of guy who was happy just with abstract theory. Nope. He wanted to solve real, tangible problems about how we all make choices. And just look where he worked. Saaty spent 15 years right in the trenches of complex decision-making. First for the Pentagon's Operations Evaluation Group, and then for the US State Department, specifically working on arms control and disarmament. I mean, these are not academic exercises, right? These are choices that literally shape the world, and that experience is what fueled his life's work.
And all of that work, it culminated in his most famous creation, an elegant, powerful framework designed to bring logic and, most importantly, clarity to our most complicated decisions.
He called it the Analytic Hierarchy Process, or AHP for short. Now, the name sounds kind of heavy, I know, but the idea behind it is brilliantly simple. You don't try to solve a huge problem all at once. You break it down. You structure it kind of like a family tree, with your main goal sitting right at the top, and then it branches down to your criteria, and then finally down to all your different options at the bottom.
So here's how it works in a nutshell. First, you figure out your goal and your options. Easy enough. Second, you build that hierarchy of criteria. You know, what actually matters to you? Is it cost, safety, innovation? Third, and okay, this is the magic part, you don't just rank them. You compare them two at a time. You literally ask yourself, is cost more important than innovation for this goal? And if it is, by how much? Then finally, some really smart math synthesizes all those simple little judgments into one clear, ranked set of priorities.
Now, if that sounds clever, what he did with the math is it's mind-blowing. The core calculation is based on finding something called the principal eigenvector of a matrix. That's just a fancy way of saying it finds the most important preference hiding in that complex web of comparisons. And get this, that exact same mathematical idea is what two Stanford students used in the 1990s to create PageRank. You know, the algorithm that built Google? Saaty was using the foundational math of the internet more than 20 years before it even existed. Just wow. And let me tell you, a mind that could be 20 years ahead of the internet wasn't a one-hit wonder. Not at all. The AHP was just the most famous peak in a long mountain range of work, all dedicated to the science of making better choices.
His career was just this steady, upward build. He gets his PhD from Yale in '53, moves into that critical government work in the '60s, and then in 1980 he publishes the book on HP that changes everything. But he didn't stop. He kept pushing, kept refining his ideas, even developing the more advanced analytic network process, the ANP. And all that work eventually earned him a spot in the super prestigious National Academy of Engineering.
And the man's sheer output was just staggering. I mean, across his career, he authored more than 35 books.
And more than 350 papers on mathematics, decision-making, and operations research. Just a true giant in his field.
And yeah, the world definitely took notice. He got the Inform's Impact Prize, which is a big deal because it specifically recognizes work that's had a huge, broad impact on the world. He was elected to national academies in both the US and Spain, and he was awarded the Gold Medal from the International Society on Multi-Criteria Decision-Making. The recognition he got was just immense.
So, what's the ultimate legacy of Thomas Saaty? Well, it's so much more than just a process. It's really a philosophy about how we can all think more clearly. And this, right here, is the crucial point. AHP was never, ever meant to replace our judgment or our intuition. It was designed to give it a structure.
It's a rational framework that lets us test our own assumptions, communicate them clearly to others, and ultimately arrive at a decision with real confidence.
Which leaves us with a final thought, especially for the world we live in now. In an age of AI that can spit out a million answers based on endless data, is the most valuable human skill we have now the ability to ask the right questions in the first place? To use a structured process like Saaty's to decide which factors from the hard numbers on a spreadsheet to the feeling of morale in a room are the ones that truly matter?